Imagine this, 2 a.m. on a street corner. In the shop window reflection, you see yourself. Eyes as clear as a child's, lips curled into the twisted grin that follows a lie. Can you tell whether that is you or a shadow lurking inside? Or have the two already fused into one? You think you're a good person, yet do you notice the tiny moments, forwarding an article you never finished reading and harvesting praise, showing kindness to the weak while bowing to power, hurling abuse at strangers online because they struck an unseen nerve? Is the skin that separates good from evil really that thin? Consider how many gentle-looking souls in history turned overnight into ruthless executioners. Ordinary students who donned uniforms in the Stanford prison experiment. Next-door fathers who lifted bayonets in wartime. Warm-hearted managers who crushed subordinates. Was their change accidental or inevitable, long foretold? If a good man is merely a demon awaiting the chance to fall, when fate hands you the knife, will you not grip it with righteous conviction? Still more frightening, you may feel an unprecedented thrill in the dark. Responsibility stripped away, excuses crowned, the applause of the crowd persuading you that a hard stomp counts as justice. In that instant, are you enforcing righteousness or avenging the wounds of your shadow? So here's the question. What force seeps through the cracks of everyday life, quietly carving compassion into cruelty? Sharper still, if the demon is not an external other but another face of you, can you be sure the eyes that open tomorrow will still recognize who you are today? Perhaps you think you stand in the light. I will lead you deeper into the dark, for only by seeing the dark can you know that the real danger has never been them, but you. You may imagine yourself on the heights of reason and morality, but deep in the cellar of the unconscious, a more ancient, ravenous instinct has been fermenting. Jung called it the shadow, the masses of desire and impulse banished from awareness by education, religion, and etiquette. The more you cling to the light, the darker the silhouette becomes. When you boast of purity in public, it sharpens its teeth in private, awaiting a legitimate debut. Nietzsche observed that morality is the handbook of slavery written by the victors. When you preach kindness, you are really protecting the status quo, so you need not be challenged. Yet deep inside, the craving for power, his will to power, never truly sleeps. You worship rules while envying the rule breakers. You sing of peace, yet taste a sweet pleasure when others fall. This is not contradiction, but the double helix of human nature. Light and shadow entwined, neither able to devour the other. Schopenhauer is harsher. The essence of life is blind will colliding with itself, merely to persist in suffering. If existence is fated to pain, goodness is just an anesthetic that makes the pain look orderly. When the narcotic wears off, can you bear the naked truth? Or will you point the sword at others to forget your wound? Social psychology supplies icy proof, the bystander effect. The more witnesses, the fewer rescuers. Responsibility is diced into crumbs so every onlooker can feel innocent. The Stanford prison experiment shows how power and labels seep like poison gas. Put on a uniform, be called officer, and reason bows to roll. Don a prison smock, and you may defend your own humiliation to survive. Is personality nothing but circumstance? More terrifying, circumstance merely ignites the log pile already stacked inside. Now look at the digital prison. Algorithms tease your anger molecules, seasoning dissent into bite-sized hate snacks. Group approval's a tender electric shock, dosing you with dopamine between likes and shares. Each moral post is a new shuffle of the deck, dissolving genuine responsibility into the flood. Over time, your conscience is wrapped in the excuse, I'm just following the trend. Your thought, swallowed by the mirage, everyone else does it. Thus, a tunnel to corruption forms in silence. First, you project your shadow onto outsiders. Those fools deserve punishment. Next, you outsource responsibility to the system. I'm only following rules. Finally, amid the crowd's cheers, you forget the person you were. You still think you're good, just more realistic. Yet, alone at night, can you truly face the eyes in the mirror and say, I never betrayed myself? By now you should feel a deeper fissure, not in society or history, but in the center of your heart. The next question, if this crack is faded, how will you keep it from devouring you? You think you only follow the crowd now and then, shrugging on occasion. Yet a single speck of dust can grow into a desert over years. The first time you naturally share a rumor, it's one drop of ink in the data flood. The second time you hide truth under peer pressure, it becomes a streak. By the third or fourth, the whole page is pitch black, and you no longer remember where the white began. Neuroscience shows each moral concession etches a faint groove between amygdala and prefrontal cortex. Fear drops, pleasure rises. Repeat it, and the neural riverbed reroutes. You think you still choose, yet chemistry herds you forward. When dopamine rewards your silence, and group approval is the only anesthetic, can you still hit the brakes? Social structures replicate the numbness. Firms reward performance, but punish whistleblowers. Schools praise obedience while dulling sharp curiosity. Media chase clicks and water down truth. Eventually, you equate good guy image with lowest cost. Thus rises a generation seemingly kind yet secretly timid, ignoring bullying on subways, mobbing strangers online, chanting peace and love while begging, "Don't trouble me." Are you one of them? Picture an invisible chain. Each person grips one link, saying, "I'm only tugging a little." When everyone pulls together, the far end shackles those who cannot resist. Have you joked about layoffs in a meeting because it wasn't your department? Mocked a victim online because it wasn't your wound? Such coldness year on year will bite society back. Values go retail. Conscience dilutes. Institutions stretch like rubber bands, bending to whichever side yanks harder. Even if you stand in the safe zone now, you will not dodge the shrapnel when it snaps. The irony, your goodness becomes a sharper blade. Believing you are virtuous, you baptize every act in justice. Waving that banner makes it easier to strike dissenters. Psychologists call this the moral licensing effect. When people feel sufficiently righteous, they indulge later selfishness and cruelty. You trade one donation for 10 acts of apathy, hide a string of cold-blooded moves behind a lofty slogan, and still sleep soundly. If the dreamer has just awakened, who will wake you? One day, the chain's end clamps onto you, and you discover there is no true spectator stand. When institutions go cold and crowds fall silent, your screams melt into the background noise. Will you then recall the countless times you clicked share, the countless times you played death? Perhaps you feel restless now. Don't rush for an exit, for the real cage is not outside, but in the crack within, where you keep compromising. Only by seeing how far it can widen will you grasp. If you keep pretending it isn't there, it will eventually swallow your whole soul. First, admit it. This is no world-saving epic, but a private mutiny against yourself. Real rebellion is not waving slogans. It is pressing the blade to your softest lies. The 5 counterintuitive fracture maneuvers below will loosen the chain link by link. None promises painless rebirth, yet every cut is an opening where light can pour in. 1. Radical, brutal honesty. Lay the shadow out to dry. Every night, force yourself to write 3 lines of thoughts you would never post. Jealousy, cowardice, revenge, morbid curiosity. Read them aloud and whisper, "This is me." Jung said, "The amount of shadow you can face is the amount of wholeness you can own." Naming the ugly strips it of covert control. 2. Master the precise no. Draw borders for the soul. Nietzsche argued that true freedom walks hand in hand with negation. You must risk disappointing the world, so you stop disappointing yourself. When the crowd applauds and unease stirs, say, "I disagree," out loud, voice trembling if need be. The first refusal is hardest. The second becomes muscle memory. By the third, your spine surprises you with its steel. 3. Micro-rebellion drills. Snap one rule in the safety zone. This is not about crime, but intentionally breaking a harmless expectation. Speak when silence is assumed. Peel off a label. Refuse the bandwagon. Studies show even a tiny act of nonconformity significantly boosts later moral courage. Get used to leaving the formation, and you'll find the crowd's stares far less lethal than imagined. 4. Weaponize vulnerability. Disclose one story that reddens your cheeks. It looks like self-damage, but you're preemptively yanking the blade from others' hands. By candidly sharing failure and dark feelings, onlookers can no longer bind you with perfection assumptions. Instead, they drop their armor, and real connection flows. Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote, "I too was cowardly." In the Gulag, this vulnerability turned his prose into a hammer smashing lies. 5. Create a one-person jury. 5 daily minutes of cross-examination. Switch off the phone and picture a stern judge before you, perhaps Sartre, Schopenhauer, or future you. Rerun your day and ask 3 questions. Was my kindness survival strategy? Where did I choose silence? If everyone behaved as I did, would the world improve or implode? This self-inquisition updates the antivirus, stopping the shadow's next disguise. You may doubt, what can one person's revolt move? Remember, the first foundation stone of every system is tacit consent. Crowds consent not to question. Systems consent not to repair. When you are the first to step out of the game, even for a single heartbeat, the crack becomes visible to others. Those who truly figured life out never differed.
When you pull the blade from your chest and notice the wound knitting itself mid-beat, blood mixed with light, you grasp that the demon never wished to destroy you. It only wanted to be seen. Good and evil are not separate roads, but twin pulses in a single artery. The more you deny one, the louder the other throbs. A vast shadow is not an enemy, but an exiled power bank. Shake its hand and the darkest impulses can be forged into steel that shields the fragile. Nietzsche warned, "He who fights monsters must take care not to become one." The unfinished coda is this: stare into the abyss until it shows your reflection, and the fear dissolves, for the abyss's wall is only a mirror. Sartre declared, "Existence precedes essence." You are not a product of labels, but a mosaic of every choice. Today you pick understanding over hatred, tomorrow courage over spectatorship. Each decision carves a new you in the ledger of the cosmos. You see at last that freedom is not a blank pardon, but an embrace of responsibility, admitting you can always fall and can always begin again. This right is costlier than any external absolution, for it demands you sign your soul contract anew each day. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Each day provides its own gift. If every dawn is a restart, will you lead your shadow into the light so it can march beside you? Then good and evil stop being rival courts and become one orchestra. You are both conductor and first violin. Remember, the world is watching. Will you turn this newly integrated power into a lamp inside the crack, lighting the way for the next soul flailing in darkness? When another heart beats because of your light, you have reached the highest form of good, stretching personal redemption into public grace." The camera pulls back. You stand at the seam of dawn and remnant shadows. This is not an ending, but a prologue. The real question is no longer, will good men become devils? But at every fleeting moment, who do you choose to be?